Why are you smiling like that?
Because I love you.
Oh, I love you.
What is up, everyone? You notice how I do this every time?
Every time. What is up, everybody?
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. If you don't know, we're Kara and Caleb.
I'm Kara.
And I'm Caleb.
Today, we are talking about
Money.
money.
Show
We're talking about money because money's fun to talk about. And here's what
Just like God and politics.
we talk about God, politics, and money. No, money is fun to talk about if you are talking about it in a way where you're up-leveling your consciousness about it, you're getting more intentional about it. I feel like you and I didn't talk about money probably a lot in our life.
I was scared of it.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that. But now we're in this place where we're like, let's talk about it. Let's have conversations about what it looks like to generate, to create, and to build.
I think like we have pivoted so much in this season of life. Moving from Los Angeles and coming to Nashville, I think was so symbolic because it represented us, maybe for the first time in our lives, like getting rooted, right, and building community, and getting very intentional on the life that we actually want to create.
Yeah.
Kara and I both, before we met each other, lived very kind of free-spirited and spontaneous and kind of just wandered where our heart was taking us with no real agenda other than, to deeply enjoy life. I guess I was kind of on a mission to heal or to figure out my life. But it's different now. Where we are inviting a baby into this world, we both have recognized the importance of getting really clear and intentional around how we are going to create more wealth in our lives so that we can continue to experience life the way that we would like to experience life.
Yeah, when I think about our past, I think neither of us, we all do things to create safety, right? So neither of us intentionally pursued money to create safety. We created safety in other ways. Mine was adventure and spontaneity, and yours was following your heart and listening to your heart. So I think getting into our 30s, we were like, oh, we maybe need to be a little more intentional about settling, building, creating. We were at dinner with friends the other night, and the guy was like, you guys sound like you've been wanderers for your life. I was laughing. I was like, we really have. And I think that's actually a beautiful part of our story is that we were both single until we were 35. And so within that singleness came a lot of spontaneity, adventure, a little less responsibility. We didn't have to take care of another person or take care of a house or a life. I think we just lived adventurously.
A lot of people's agenda, right, is college or whatever it might be, get a good job, make a lot of money. Like that is kind of the trajectory of the American dream, right? Or a lot of people want to start a business so that they can a startup so that they can sell it and make a lot of money.
Which is awesome.
Amazing. Hell yeah. I can honestly say I've never had the agenda of making money.
Yeah.
Or creating wealth. That has not been my agenda.
It hasn't been in the past.
Up until now. My only agenda since getting to the NFL, walking away from the NFL, and going on a decade-long find yourself journey, spiritual journey, my only agenda has been to heal.
Yeah, which in and of itself, the lack of desire to make money can come from stories that we have, right? Stories that we've lived in or that have been modeled for us. So for today's video, that's what we're going to talk about, right? Stories that we've carried individually around money and things that we've had to unpack, unravel, heal in order to be in a position to now consciously be choosing to create. I feel like I was actually thinking about this today with a client where we talked about how in life, in order to grow, you have to move from survival to creation, right? And so many of us live in survival mode all the time. We're just surviving or surviving. But if we want to consciously shift our future, if we want to do visualizations that bring us into a new version of self, we have to move out of survival and into creation mode. And I think that's kind of the transition we're in with money is we've just kind of been surviving, living, doing. And now we're like, oh, let's consciously create. Let's consciously create wealth, abundance, more.
And there's no one right way to do this. Because I'm thinking about I know people who are very financially successful and now at the age of 40, they're just starting their spiritual journey.
Absolutely.
Right? Versus like us who've been on a spiritual journey and we feel like we have, it's changed our lives in the most, unimaginable ways. You can't put a price tag on it.
Yeah.
You literally can't put a price tag on it. And now we're at the place where, 37 this year, and now we are very intentional on creating wealth. But I think the big hang up, and I know this was my thought for the longest time, and I know I'm not alone, is that people think that, oh, I need to make more money, right? Or I want more money, therefore I have to get a better job, therefore I have to work harder, therefore I have to fill in the blank, whatever that might be, right? But a lot of times what we fail to recognize is the relationship, the energetic relationship that we have with money, which is actually directly correlated to the stories that we were either told or that we learned and internalized around money.
Absolutely. So do you each want to share a story?
Yeah.
I feel like one of the big stories that I've carried around money that has been massive for me to unpack, and I didn't even know I carried this story probably until like 4 years ago, is the story of there's not enough. So total scarcity, lack mentality around money.
Which
is very common. We grew up with not a lot of money, and there was a lot of conversation in my house about how much money we didn't have and how much things cost and how we didn't have the money for the things that we wanted. So as a kid, you're just kind of absorbing all these messages that there's just never enough. And it's played out in so many areas of my life of really just believing there's not enough, not just money, but other things. Yeah. There's a sense of not enoughness.
Not enough good men. There's not enough.
And that was my story for a long time. There's not enough good men. All the good ones are married. But I got the best love. But this not enoughness story has carried so deeply. And it's been a ton of work for me to unravel that. And then also to realize the counter of that. So you actually are a really good picture of enoughness coming at the right time. And I think the other piece of that story, the enoughness story, is the time piece, where I thought that I wanted to be married by 21. I got married at 35. Best decision of my life. Literally, I would have sabotaged a marriage at 21. But I think in that, even with my money story, recognizing there's no such thing as behind. There's no such thing as being behind, because I'll get into this place mentally still. I have to overcome it where I'll be like, oh my gosh, we're behind. We don't own our lake house yet. Which is
scarcity.
Right. It's scarcity. Yeah. It's literally the story of there's not enough. I'm going to run out of time. Whatever. I'm behind. Whatever we follow the trail of that story to. So that's a huge part of my unraveling, was working through this idea that there is more than enough, that money can be generated at any time, that it's energetic, that there's constant energy. And I think even the way of earning money has shifted for me as I've unraveled that narrative.
Can you think of a specific moment that really kind of drove in that idea that there's never enough? If you have an actual moment that you can think back at that like was very damaging and you can feel it in your body.
Oh, like in my childhood? Oh my gosh. I have like hundreds of them.
Which one do you remember one that was really, packed with humiliation and shame?
Yeah, actually I do. What was the jump rope club in elementary school? There's like a jump rope. It was called like Jump Start or something. And you got to like raise money for a foundation, and then you went and you did your jump rope competition, and you were like on little teams, and if you raised a certain amount of money, you got a certain prize, etc. And I, for whatever reason, didn't raise the like $15 that I needed to raise. No joke. And I asked my mom, I was like, can I have $15? And she was like, we don't have no, you can't have $15. And there was a girl, Molly was her name, in my my elementary school. And her mom was taking me to the jump rope competition. And they came to the driveway to pick me up. And I literally hid behind the toilet in our house, bawling, crying.
I want to cry now.
I know, it's so sad. Bawling, crying, because I was like, as I look back, I'm like, there was this story of no one's going to take care of you. Like, there's not enough and nobody's going to take care of you.
What did you internalize in that moment? That
Probably that I have to take care of myself, that I'm alone. And you've seen this even in my own story of, I have to figure it out. I have to take care of me. I have to figure out how to pay the bill, whatever the thing is, that little story.
Well, that's survival.
Total survival. And again, this reliance on myself as opposed to God or something greater than me taking care of me. I feel like it really ingrained this idea that nobody takes care of me, and there's just not enough to take care of me.
Yeah, which is also scarcity thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh, poor little girl,
I know.
Kara.
It's so powerful, though, as you start thinking it back, and like this is where anyone can start. Like, think back to the stories of your life. They don't even have to be directly tied to money.
To money, yeah.
Right? But what are the stories of your life that carry still energy? Like, you can think back and you can cringe, right? Or you think back and you feel the heaviness of it. You think back of those stories that you think back on, and they have this energetic tie to them that you can still feel in your body.
Yeah.
Like, those are the story that have so much available for you as you work through those narratives. Like, what did I learn to believe about myself or about the world or about other people from this incident?
Yeah.
And is it aligned with truth, with love, with abundance? If it's not, which generally it's not going to be, if there's like a heaviness or a draining energy attached to it, that's where the magic is.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we need to lean into. And what's crazy is this story for you, it doesn't necessarily even have to tie directly to money to create a scarcity mindset,
right?
Which then infiltrates and pervades every area of your life, including finances.
Including money. Yeah. Yeah. And I think as we lean into these stories, what we can start to recognize too is how we transfer them on. I think for us, thinking about parenting, probably a huge reason that we're unpacking these stories now is I don't want to raise children who are afraid that there's not enough. I don't want to raise kids that live in scarcity, because it's destructive. It's destructive in how
there's just a better way.
Yeah, well, it's destructive in how we orient ourselves then towards the world, because we're constantly afraid of not enoughness.
Yeah.
And it's what we're looking for. We're always looking for proof of the narrative we believe. So if I believe there's not enough, I'm constantly looking for proof of that in life.
And reaffirming that belief system until you intentionally disrupt it.
Yeah. What's your story?
Man, I have a couple different stories, and even as I was thinking about this, I talked about like the energy attached to the story, because I actually feel a little bit as I thought back on a couple of different stories. But I will say that money and my relationship with money for the longest time was not safe, because money always made me feel stupid. So money always made me feel stupid. So
why did it make you feel stupid?
Well, because when I was younger, and there's two stories. One, I think we actually talked about this on our podcast, which we go into way more detail about money and our relationship with money and what building wealth looks like on our podcast.
We can link that below.
And we will. And there was a time when I, took a few bucks and I went to a convenience store. I walked from my house to a convenience store, and we did not grow up well off. Constant fights about money, constant struggles about money, constant bickering about money, whatever, right? Money was always the source of all the drama in my life, in our family's life. So and so you can probably imagine what I actually subconsciously thought about money. Money was my enemy, really. And so
it was the thing causing the pain.
Yeah, which I hated. But then that becomes very destructive down the road when I'm trying to make more of it.
Yeah.
But subconsciously, I hate it. And so I went to this convenience store and I bought candy because I was a sugar addict by the age of 6. And I had heard somewhere this idea or this phrase, just keep the change. Right? And so say the candy was like, $1.75, and I gave the cashier $2, and I just said, oh, keep the change. Right? I thought it was cool. And I walked home, and
you were trying to be generous.
I was just trying to be cool. And then I walked home, and I remember my mom being like, "Where's the change?" And I was like, "I told him to keep the change," and she was so upset with me. And I remember just like running to my room and just weeping because I just disappointed my mom, and I made a big mistake, but I didn't necessarily understand what I did. And I just know that in that moment, I was taught to believe that I don't know how to handle finances, or I don't know how to handle money, or money I'm so stupid. Like, how could I do that? Right? And so money made me feel stupid. And the same thing happened when I was visiting my aunt and uncle in Colorado one time. We went to the mall and we walked into one of those candy stores where you weigh by the pound.
Oh, yeah. Those
Back in the day, those were expensive.
They were like $20
And I misunderstood. I totally misunderstood what I was allowed to do. And I had a bag probably worth of $75 worth of candy.
This makes me so sad.
And my mom freaked out, or somebody in my family freaked out, my mom or my dad, and I was so humiliated.
Yeah.
I was so humiliated.
Yeah.
So I say, and I tell those stories because now my relationship with money is unsafe for the longest time, because my body is still remembering
embarrassment,
humiliation, and shame around money. So now this becomes extremely complicated when I'm a grown-ass man, adult, trying to make more money in my life, right? And not understanding, why in the hell can I not make more money? Like, why is making money so hard? Which is another belief system that we are taught to believe, right? And so that was like a big, big thing that I had to work through, is learning how to be safe with money. And it got to the point where I would actually feel, on the podcast episode, I talk about how I got this, somebody gave me a check for $10,000. That check in my hands made me almost have a panic attack.
Yeah.
It triggered something so deep in me that, oh my God, I wasn't celebrating the fact that I had $10,000. I was panicking because I didn't know what to do with the $10,000, which reinforced I'm stupid. I don't know how to handle money. And so the key for me to actually break free, and I'm still learning how to create more wealth in my life, had little to do with working harder and everything to do with uncovering the shame-driven narratives that I carried from my childhood around money.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point too, this idea that it's not necessarily about working harder. You and I have worked our asses off in life. We're hard workers. I don't think that's the actual problem. So when we want something, when we want to manifest something or call something in or invite something in, sometimes the question isn't what do I need to change in my behavior, but rather what do I need to change about the way I'm thinking about this so that my behavior can accordingly change. Yeah. Because I think for both of us, we needed to change the way we were thinking to even be able to have the capacity to hold something coming in. Because like you said, with that $10,000 check, it came in and immediately you were like, I can't hold this. Yeah. And so you get rid of it.
I literally got rid of it.
Yeah.
I literally got rid of it. So I think the big question is I think we often, it's not just about money, right? It's about our limited ways of thinking and seeing the world.
And our ability to receive, right?
Oh, yeah, that's massive.
We're talking
that's like
about
a whole
money.
Video.
We're talking about money, but I'm thinking about this in the context of relationships, in the context
That's what I was saying. Like this is not just about money, right? A limited scarcity mindset will have a massive impact in every aspect of your life, right? This doesn't just change your mindset around. I think money gives us the direct opportunity to work on our scarcity mindset because we see the connection there. But as we work on our scarcity mindset and see in what other areas we are entertaining scarcity mindset or limited thinking, it expands all of our life. Yeah. It expands every area of our life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just money, which is amazing.
It's really good.
So I think one thing that we do encourage, a tool, is we both have done this, and man, I don't know, have it on me or I'd read it, but we write a letter to money. Like, write a letter to money, like money is a friend, and have an open conversation with money.
Or maybe you write the letter and you recognize that money is not a friend. It's actually an
enemy. But like, say like you were trying to treat money as a friend, like for the first time.
Yeah.
Like like if you're sitting down and having a really heart-to-heart, hard, honest, transparent, vulnerable conversation with a best friend, what would you say? And let that best friend be money for this exercise.
Yeah.
It's amazing what will pour out of you when you realize that I'm trying to make money my best friend, but I actually secretly hate you.
Or I've been holding all these thoughts about you, a grudge against you. It's very revealing, and it really does help you it illuminates your relationship with money, because we're in relationship to things all the time. And so energetically, we're in a relationship with money. And so when you write out this letter, essentially what you do is you realize, like, oh, these are the belief systems. Mm-hmm. These are the thoughts. These are the mentalities that I've carried towards you. And it has been remarkably healing for both of us.
Yeah. And then just the second that you have the letter, and also just think about, what are some of the experiences of your childhood that you can still feel the sting of humiliation or shame, whatever it might be, that uncomfortable feeling. What are the memories that still carry that sting?
Yeah.
And unpack those stories with a friend, with a therapist, with a coach, with those stories, and building resilience around that shame or whatever else is going on is what's going to unpack or unlock your life.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Thanks for watching. We'll be back again soon.